Hey everyone, welcome to Shop Talk with Beth Stackpole and Stephanie Neal. This is our chance to talk about some of the cool technology we write about in Beyond the Factory Walls. Some of the stuff we love and give it a thumbs up. Some of the stuff we think is maybe a thumbs down right now, maybe too advanced for what we're doing. But all of the automation that's happening outside the factory walls is really unique and fun to talk about. So one of the thumbs up stories that we like is the Rhino that Beth reported on. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. So most people know that rhinos are endangered species and for lots of reasons, but a lot having to do with poaching for their horns and all of that kind of thing. So a group took the idea of coming up with creating a robotic rhino and using biomimicry practices, which means they sort of borrow from nature and really replicate the behavior of the rhino and whatnot, and the way it appears, and are embedding these rhinos into herds of real rhinos. And with all of the sensors and other things, they can be alerted if there are poaching problems or any kind of thing goes out of sorts. So, the groups that are in Africa and these other areas where the species live can kind of ride to the rescue, if you will. But what I like about it is, we're hearing all of these different stories about robots that are coming into society, and what I love about this one is it's really using what a robot can do for good purposes, to save species for animals, and really advancing the curve in terms of making a robot mimic a live physical being, whether that's an animal or a person.
Yeah, I love that biomimicry stuff. It's I hadn't really heard of it, and that was kind of what I was wondering about when I first read your story, like how. But I guess the scent, they sort of mimic the scent of the rhino, so that um,
I think it's more of the behavior patterns of
okay.
the rhino, so that the robot goes in there and it's not all herky jerky. It doesn't appear to be a robot. It actually
Part of the pack.
mimics the behavior patterns, the mannerisms, the movements of the actual breed. So therefore, it can kind of embed itself, without being detected.
Yeah.
So I'm sure they have to do something about scent. I
I
didn't
read
get that far.
that. It might be wrong, but I think that's cool technology. So the other stuff that is pretty cool is we have really no control over where our food comes from these days, or how it's being manipulated or managed. So there's a whole movement to grow your own food. And there's the farm bot Genesis that I wrote about, which is polycropping or polycrop farming. It's automated personal farming machines. So we have CNC machines on the factory floor. This is basically a CNC machine in your backyard. It's
So
got
cool.
all the sensors and all the tools that you need to sort of lay out the crop with a web-based application. You can lay out different crops, and then interesting enough, it's like a game-like interface, kind of like a Farmville, where you can just put all of the icons in the rows that you want them, and then you just synchronize it with the machine, and it automatically does it. It waters it. It stamps out weeds when it sees a weed. So there's like really cool computer vision stuff in there. And the system itself is all open source, so it's easy to get. The software is free. The CAD programming is free. The kit itself is not free. It's about $3,000, but in the grand scheme of things, that's pretty affordable.
You can probably get that back pretty quickly, growing your own veggies and whatnot. And I love the fact that you don't have to get your hands dirty and weed, because that is by far the worst part of growing anything.
I agree. So that's available in February of 2017. You can pre-order now if you want, Beth. Or maybe,
A little out of my price range, but
yeah, well, maybe ask, that could be like a holiday gift or something, or a birthday gift in the
yeah,
future.
next year.
Next year. So in terms of shopping, how about the Amazon Go store that you wrote about?
Right. So obviously Amazon is out there with Google and all of those companies that are really pushing the curve in terms of, those Jetsons kind of far out there technologies like autonomous vehicles and machine learning and AI and all that. This particular instance is they're applying some of those technologies along with Internet of Things technologies to a store concept. The idea being trying to eliminate the annoying sitting on the grocery checkout line, especially during the holidays or times when it's really busy. And the idea that they're using all kinds of software and sensors, and it can detect when you take something and put it on choose it or put it back on the shelf because you don't want it, and you basically create a virtual shopping cart, and then you go through and it keeps track of everything, automatically charges it right to your Amazon account, of course. And you're all good. You don't have to wait on the line. It probably takes the idea of those self-checkout lines to the next level, because everything is all virtual and it's detecting everything that you're doing. So, I won't say I totally hate this. I think that there's potential there. I worry about some of the ramifications in terms of jobs and automation replacing humans, obviously, not just for this particular instance, but just in general, the concerns that it raises.
Yeah.
I just don't know. I guess the reason I'm putting it in the middle ground is, automation is great. But how much automation, when is enough? And I'm not so sure that it's so horrible to like go through a checkout line and,
I think it's horrible. I'd rather just order it from Amazon Prime and have it sent to my door.
right, right. But
I'm the opposite.
touch and feel our vegetables and all of that,
Hey, listen, I never have to leave my house. I'm going to get the farm bot. I'm going to have Amazon Prime delivered. Never have to leave the house.
There you go.
So another one that we're wishy-washy on, when we first started talking about it, we had a thumbs down. It was the Google DeepMind. They're programming their neural network to dream. And we were like, why? What's the point? Well, I guess the point is this. Well, first of all, as people, when we dream and we rest, it's a restorative process, and it helps us with memory. So they're using the same concept to program the artificial intelligence. What they're dreaming of, what the machine is dreaming of, is like games, like video game scenes. Okay. And it's helping them to identify a challenge and then figure out how to solve that problem. So it's increasing the learning ability by, 10 times. And so the point being that it could be applied to cancer research. Don't ask me how. I know that's your next question, because I'm not a neural network scientist. But, anytime you get this high computing power, artificial intelligence stuff, and it's sort of learning from its own, memory, computer programming data that it's storing, right? Then we can maybe find solutions, or solve problems that we've been unable to do to date.
Is it a way then to improve the processing power of large data sets to kind of key in on something? I mean, that would make sense to me in terms of using it to maybe get better at finding that genome or whatever it is.
Yeah, I mean, I think that we're seeing it with like IBM Watson today. They're doing a lot in the healthcare area, and it's the same concept, I believe. Yep. And so it's basically digging in more compute power, digging into more data, finding patterns, and then delivering the information that's needed. There has to be people involved too. There has to be doctors and scientists, of course. But this is just a way to get at that important information that has been elusive to us,
right,
until now.
And that's definitely a win.
Yeah.
I guess it's a kind of wait and see type thing.
It is. But you know what? I bet we could see it in our lifetime.
Yeah.
I hope.
So
that's it for this episode of Shop Talk. Thanks for joining us. If you want to learn more about Beyond the Factory Walls, go to automationworld.com and click on the newsletter. It'll be delivered into your inbox every week or every other week. And you can also catch us here on the Automation World YouTube channel for more Shop Talk. So until then, see you later.
See you later.